Maybe Gateway was a bad choice.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Gateway for tonight's run of the BNR Cup Series. Joined by me every Saturday night.
It might have just been me, Chris, having to
No, it's
go.
not.
Oh, okay,
I've,
10-4.
I've been having a lot of problems.
It's okay. We work with the problems. It's all good.
Hopefully, we should be coming back live soon. I've been having a lot of issues.
Yeah, I
Very
believe we
frustrating,
are
but the
live.
green flag is out.
And they're barreling into turns 1 and 2 now. Like I said, both ends of the track very different. 1 and 2 has a wee bit more banking than 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken, but 3 and 4 is more flatter. Momentarily, I'll get up here and Google it. I believe the race was supposed to be a wee bit longer, but that's okay. Could be another technical error.
We're
But
running.
I can tell you fuel mileage. What were you going to say, Chris? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We get to 110 laps tonight. I thought we had 105. Maybe threw a couple R on there.
I thought it was 137, but
I guess we all thought different stuff, huh?
exactly.
But looks like we're gonna do 110.
And hey, hey, that's enough for me. To be honest, I hope that's enough for everybody else. I mean, that seems like a good scheduled distance around here at Gateway. So, difficult track. These cars are quite a handful. Got to remember, this is
Oh,
the
speaking
open
of,
night. Oh, that is Caleb Sellner in his Honda going a wee bit slidey out of turn number 4. It can happen to the best of them. That turn number 4 is probably the most trickiest and can be just the treacherous most corner on the circuit, just because of how ever long turns 3 and 4 are, and you do pay a price if you get it wrong. Whether you're coming back onto the throttle or, like I said, the ever long turning, like we talk about at Texas or other places that we go to, hard impact by that 99. Hopefully he can get a caution and maybe get some repair work done, but if not, he may fall some laps down here, as Jason Pearson, currently the leader after 3 circuits have been completed, taking the lead away from the pole sitter Brandon Moore, who's probably just in conserve mode. He's got John Tiller in 3rd position, Aaron Bradford 4th, and Skylar Sixton will round out the top 5. Tight battle for 4th and 5th position from Sixton and Bradford. I would have to say they were awfully tight going through 3 and 4, but as we know, everybody's going to lose some and gain some. You're going to be different and stronger, better, and weaker compared to other people at different points on this track. You can be really strong entering 3 and 4, but just have a real bad, like 1 and 2. You just can't. It's almost like Pocono, how Pocono has 3 unique corners here. It's got 2 unique straightaways and 2 different sets of different elevated corners, like we've already established. So it's similar to Darlington, like I said, but just way flatter. Some people really believe in the low line, where you really have to back up your entry, so much so like you do at New Hampshire, right? And you can do that here, but I kind of preferred arcing it in, taking the high line, and then trying to pivot down and diamond the center of the corner to have that arcing corner off, right? But there's so many different ways to drive this track if you can jot it down. Some believe it's a single lane track, but it's not. Our pole sitter falling another position back into 3rd position as we look a little bit more through the field. About 13 seconds is the complete differential from 1st to 10th at the moment. Caleb Sellner still getting repair work done. Probably broke a toe link, toe arm, some suspension. Don't know how bad of a unaligned that steering could have been after a hard wackadoo to the inside retaining wall. Brain, good possibility. Silent SS there. Skylar Sixton may not want to actually say that too loudly. Looking around, trying to find a run on Brandon Moore, but just can't quite get, as Brandon Moore has the stronger run off the corner, as we talked about, being able to really charge in depth into the corner. I like Skylie's number font of the 51. Almost, the Days of Thunder number font almost. That's really cool. Are kind of like the Cars Dynaco number font, right? Like that's what it kind of looks like, almost a mishmash of the two. Like the third or fourth Cars movie. What is it, the third Cars movie? So 100 laps to go, and we're really seeing who's trying to be conservative, who's trying to do what. Brandon Moore really dropping back a lot here. He's fallen all the way to the 6th position after capturing the pole here. The drivers told me beforehand the cars are just a handful to drive. You don't know from which lap, which corner, how it's going to react. So could be what's happening to be more at the moment. So Pearson with a strong, good run, hoping to have, as he's pulled a second, almost two away from the field. Maybe having some good short run pace this evening. Have to find out and wait to see how much longer this run can maintain. Huntley and Tiller slicing it up there for second place. I really like the Tiller scheme this evening. Nice, almost reminds me of the Rusty Wallace paint schemes from the early 90s, early to mid 90s. Right before the blue and white Miller High Life branding took over. The black and almost goldish or black and yellow Miller High Life cars. Almost three wide there for a mere moment. Bradford almost lost the nose and chased it up the track just a wee bit. 2.5 seconds now is the gap to Huntley, now in second place, sixth and third. Tiller dropping a couple of places because of those battles. Good catch, though, by Bradford. He could have really plowed up into the door of Tiller, but he caught that tightness and wheeled back the car a little bit, so good catch. About 10 more seconds of fall off, and Woodrum is going to be in the danger zone of going a lap down here. This track is very difficult. It can catch out the best of them, so gonna see some people not be up at the front like you see them at other tracks. So you want to drive it like a short track, but you want to really get after it. But it's hardly no banking here, so it's you really got to woe it down, and you can really grind the Goodyear off the good of those Goodyear Eagles pretty quickly if you don't actually kind of back up the corner, or if you're in full attack mode, maybe 5 laps or so is all you get out of it, right? So it's a tough track for sure. IndyCar comes here. The Trans Am Series runs here. They have ran here in the past, especially last year. It was on their calendar. I'm not sure about this year, but they use the road course layout here that you would think is only wide enough for maybe go-karts or something, but it's actually fairly wide. Good racing comes about. The Trans Am cars get up to about 150 or like 160 going down the straightaways, so if I'm not mistaken, they really get after it. I think it was like 150. But a whole field of like those Trans Am cars doing like the road course, man, like that is something to see. I'm sure you could go here on YouTube and find it on the Trans Am YouTube channel. That's where I watched it from. Good battle here. At least it was. My apologies. So Tiller kind of trying to keep there in fourth position in eye distance of, the podium positions. But man, Pearson has really driven away from the field. He's almost going to Iowa or somewhere. He's almost in a different cornfield. Over 3.5 seconds away from Huntley. This track has always been kind of on NASCAR schedule since I want to say the early to mid 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Then in the late 2000s, early 2000s, right? I want to say, without having to Google it or anything, 2011, I think, was the final race for truck and Xfinity, and then they took a small break, and then the truck series came back, and then both, I think now only trucks and Cup go to Gateway, but provides great racing, I always thought.
Brandon Moore making a move on Bradford, and he's going to get that position. 6th. Excuse me, 5th. Put himself in the top 5.
Yeah, we now see the lead kind of stabilized out there with about 3.5, maybe 4 seconds, depending on where they are at the moment on track. So Woodrum now has won a lap down. Campbell is 23.5 seconds off. Oh, something has happened to Skyler. Oh, never mind. I think he just had a blink moment. My apologies. I saw him start to tumble down the totem pole, and I'm like, oh no. I really hope nobody finds that offensive when I say about the totem pole. I've been saying it for a good minute, hot minute. I've been using that expression, so you gotta remember it was the owner of the team that wanted to change the Washington Redskins, right? It wasn't like the natives wasn't offended by it. That's a whole nother sport. Anyway. He look back here, Skyler having a tussle with John Tiller here. Tiller moving back up into the podium positions, trying to put a slide job on Sigston. It was a bit of a slider. It was a wee bit of a slider. But Skyler's looking back on the inside, going through 3 and 4 now. He's going to float up. Oh, man. Oh, they are going to rub. I believe they touched there right in the center of the corner. Like I said, it's very driven like a short track mentality here at Gateway. Got to remember the IndyCar Series comes here to Gateway as well. So just imagine those little, you know, I call them little, but they're fairly big race cars, even still. But just imagine, man, those how fast those things whip around here. If anybody has ever seen an IndyCar race at Gateway, oh my goodness. But yeah, Tiller kind of won that fight at the moment. Brandon Moore still just chilling, it looks like, just chilling, still a long way to go if you look at it. But this is a good battle. This is a good tussle. Closest, best battle on track at the moment, man. They keep just going back and forth on each other. I was going to say punching each other, but, you know, they haven't really put too many blows to one another yet. It's still early on, only 28 laps into this race, coming up on the lap car of Woodrum. And looks like Sigston's going to be able to use him for a pick momentarily. It's going to slow the chasing Tiller down just a wee bit, trying to navigate by on the outside on corner exit. On board with Tiller, you see Brandon Moore right there. Right behind B Moore is AB, Aaron Bradford, in that 20 machine. And then Sean Judson. I forgot he was all, you know, I forgot Judson was even here. He is right behind Bradford. So out 30 laps in and 30 laps down. This is a very great battle. Great racing going on between Tiller, Sigston, Brandon Moore. Just all these fellas. It may only been a 11 car field, but my goodness, they really putting on a show. Anybody out there watching, you know, get in contact with, I want to say Jason Pearson, Brian Huntley, Aaron Bradford, Christopher Campbell, you know, even Chris Camary. I almost called you Canary, I'm sorry. Anyway,
What about us?
joining. What, Chris?
What about us? Why are you listing us?
Oh, no, I was just saying if they wanted, like if anybody was out there interested in wanting to join this league, you know,
I gotcha.
contact that list of names. BNR Racing League here. Truck Series is on Tuesdays. Chris competes in that from time to time when he's able. Him and his little squadron of teammates there. You know, then on Thursdays, there is another Cup Series that is a fixed Cup Series. And then this is the Open Cup Series. Basically, you know, you run what you brung instead of run what you got on Thursday. And the fixed side of things, I believe next season, it's going to be Gen 4 CO2. Don't know. Still in full discussion about what next season will bring on Thursday nights. So, but man, this intense battle, they are 10 and a quarter seconds off the lead. But man, it's kind of died down a little bit. But you still have Tiller and Moore. They're just riding now. But man, to be 10 seconds off the lead, that is something. Brian has been able to kind of stay maybe within bird's eye view of Pearson. But now Brandon Moore going for a move on Tiller. Tiller kind of, I believe they're somewhat running mates, kind of teammates, kind of co-conspirators, if you will. They're allies. So anybody who like a good conspiracy theory, you know, I love those documentaries, right? Especially the ones that can't really stand up on anything. It's like, oh, that one's fantastic because this guy, you know, whoever came up with that idea, you know, like, uh, anyway, I'll get off topic. I'm sorry, Chris. So yes, 36 laps in this race, about to be booked. Pearson still the leader. I was going to say fuel mileage earlier. I plumb forgot about it, but we're going to say anywhere between 45 to 52 laps, because sitting on pit road, you get 52 laps, Chris. So I figured, you know, once you get up to speed, you're hard charging or whatever you're doing, you know, you're at race pace, right, Chris? So it's probably going to drop down a couple of estimated laps. So it, who knows? But somewhere in that ballpark of 45 to 52 laps, I do estimate the fuel mileage to be this evening. Huntley now kind of driving back the gap on Pearson. Just under 3 seconds now. Brandon Moore, he's no longer 10 seconds back. He's 8.5. And John Tillett, they must have heard me say, hey, these guys are 10 seconds back. And they're like, whoa, now, we're that far back? So we know some of these guys, they will listen, you know, to the broadcast and try to pay attention about what's going on that maybe they don't know. So well, everybody's going to get, you know, a good top 10, top 11 run tonight, Chris, that's for sure. It's like Brian really driving back on Pearson now. About to be down to maybe just 3 seconds. Nathan Line, next car to go a lap down to our race leader, Jason Pearson. You can see, you know, the lap time fall off here because Lane is 33 seconds back. So if we remember what the pole times are, or what the qualifying times were, so Pearson with a hot rod this evening, that is for certain. He's led the opening stanza of this race, the opening stint, putting a lap on Nathan Line. 7 cars on the lead lap, 14.5 seconds back to 7th place. Aaron Bradford, as we see, 1st and 2nd place. So getting into that ballpark of having to make the first pit stop of the evening, it looks like maybe 2 pit stops tonight, Chris. It actually could be a fuel mileage race, maybe, if someone could maybe save enough to, you know, I don't see how they're going to be able to do it, but it is quite possible. We've seen drivers save a load of time or a lot of gas before. In the past. So I mean, it is quite feasible, it is quite possible, it is doable to save what you need, but the question is, can you actually do that here this evening, as we see the first pit taker from the lead lap? It is going to be Sean Judson bringing it down pit road at lap 40. I want to say 3:44. That's Pete Woodrum. He's a lap down, so he pits what he would be on lap 42 or 43. So Judson bringing it down now. Now, depending on how far the delta gap is, as far as how far you are away from the race leader when you pit, it can be similar to Pocono, even though Pocono's 2.5 miles. As far as when you put the new tires on, depending on when everybody else starts to pit, you can gain a little bit of time, but it just all depends on how, like Pocono, like how far can you be to the race leader without going a lap down under a green flag pit stop. That rule kind of still applies, or that thought still applies here at Gateway as far as putting the fresh tires on. How much time could you gain depending on how far away from someone you are? As we see Campbell bringing his Mustang down to pit lane. Skyler is in there as well, so a couple of more lead lappers pitting as far as Sigston. Apparently just Sigston and Judson from the lead lap pitting. Everybody else choosing to stay out a wee bit longer.
Will, what's great is when you make a mistake and call something wrong, I realize your mic wasn't even on. Perfect.
And yes, sometimes it can just be that way. You don't know how long I've talked before at one point, and my headset but my boom not be lowered on my headset.
I think I've done half a race like that.
Yeah, I've done I think it was like Sonoma or somewhere, I'm trying to remember now where I did that at. And I'm like, Brian, why aren't you responding? He started talking, and then I'm like, man, he's not talking about what I'm talking about. Is he not hearing me? And then I like whacked the side of my headset, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Pearson now, the race leader, bringing his automobile down pit lane, his Chevy Camaro, Hooters number 13 machine. So now who will be next is the great question, said the great Moolah. So I'm probably going to say Huntley. Yes, Huntley. I'm going to say may come in now and counter, but no, it looks like he's going to stay out at least another lap or two. Who knows? He may stay out as long as he can. And that may be to lap 52. Maybe he could get 2 more out of it.
Yeah, he must be.
Remember at one time. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, he must be trying to play a fuel game, stretch that fuel, try to make it go all the way to the end, because as we know, the longer he stays out and doesn't take tires, Pearson's just going to increase the gap over Huntley once it evens out, or cycles out, rather.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was referring to a while ago as well. Like, the longer you stay out, the more it could actually hurt you. When those people come in to pit with fresh tires.
Sometimes you could even lose a couple seconds a lap on older tires.
Oh, yes.
Here he comes.
Not just as I guesstimated, 2 laps was how much longer Brian was going to stay out for, so he got probably as much as out of that car as he could.
So yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be a 2-stop. So they're going to have to take a splash of fuel at some point. But that also, I mean, if we say green, we could see like maybe a 2-tire strategy somewhere, or maybe someone throwing 4 tires on. So we say green, we could see some good strategy plays coming out of this one, Will.
Oh, we most definitely could. I could see somebody maybe taking no tires, just fuel, something to that effect. Exactly, Chris. Just enough fuel that you need because, you would probably have to come in, man, I'm going to say around anywhere from lap 96 to 105. I'm assuming whenever the next cycle would begin and end, right? So you would only need to just take just whatever to get to the finish, right? So I could see a whole lot of wacky strategy playing in the next pit cycle uh, because this is from doing the quick math and everything, it is equaled out to be one heck of a strategy call on the next pit cycle. If it's like you talked about, if we have preached about it before. It's a two-letter word, but it is so big with the meaning. If it stays green, we would need this race to play out like it is for us to see what we think would be any type of Brandon Moore going. I mean, look at what he's doing at the moment. So, I mean, you have drivers that, like you talked about, trying to stay out as long as possible, and maybe not needing to take, but it's going to be awful close. Like I said, I think it's going to be like 105, 106. I don't know. I don't know. After Brandon Moore steps away or gets out of the pits, I should say, we could crank it up. But I guess we could do that now. It doesn't matter. Whenever you want to do it, Chris, up to you, bud.
All right, we'll let her rip.
Oh, okay. Well, currently lap 62. And Jason Pearson is back in the race lead. Ryan Huntley, I'm not going to say 6 seconds behind him in second place. John Tiller, 7.5 in third position. We'll have to wait and see a little bit longer about where everybody's going to fare when we get to about lap 90. I want to say it's between lap 94 and 96. We'll start to see maybe that chance for people to come down. We have 7 cars on the lead lap. So at the moment, Bradford's in the danger zone, as I like to call it.
Well, I bought a tub of gummy worms, and it was a terrible choice. Sour gummy worms, I should say, because I can't stop eating them, and I try to stay away from candy anyways, because it's bad for your teeth. I almost guarantee my freaking teeth are going to hurt tomorrow, but I still can't stop eating them.
I'm not a fan of sour gummy worms or gummy bears or sour Patch Kids. But I love gummy bears, gummy worms. Oh, bro,
Yeah, so
if you would have just, I would have been all over that. But you said sour.
See, I love sour, but my problem is the citric acid is what makes stuff soured, and it eats the enamel on my teeth. Like the final straw for me was I ate like a handful of Sour Patch Kids, and one of my tooth hurt for like a friggin' month. And just for the record, I do go get every 6 months dental cleaning, so I don't have frigged up teeth neither. It's not because of that. But anyways, there's your off-topic session. Point is, I bought a bucket of gummy worms, and I can't stop eating them. But Jason Pearson is still leading.
When you say bucket, do you mean like the bucket that you could get for like a small bucket of Army Men bucket, like a small, or do you mean like a 5-gallon drum?
No, not that big. It's a small bin. It says 14 ounces. That's
okay.
Still more than anybody needs. Poor decisions.
No, I get it. Hey man, if I got the money to get me something I could snack on, or I would love to get like just plain gummy worms or bears. Yeah, give me that.
I almost bought a bag of Raisinets, but they're too expensive. Everything's too expensive. I don't like raisins. They're okay, but Raisinets, I like the chocolate covered raisins. Those are good.
Let me tell you, I got burnt out of raisins after kindergarten.
You served those a few times?
Yeah, one too many times for me, and I'm like,
Raisins.
And I got tricked into eating like an oatmeal raisin cookie. Someone told me it was a chocolate chip cookie.
Dude. Oatmeal raisin cookies are dope. Those are so good. There's like chocolate chip cookies and then oatmeal raisin. That's probably like the top two.
Lap 69. Nice. Anyway, I had to get that in there. So, I bit into the raisin thing. I thought it was like they're like, here, they said it was a chocolate chip almond or whatever I just said, and it turned out it was raisin, and I bit into it. I thought it was a bug, and I'm like, why is it all gooey? That's not what chocolate, like it was like really gooey raisin, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm
I can see that.
What's this? But anyway, yeah, that's my raisin. I don't like raisins anymore story. Had a bad experience with it one time.
Yeah, I could see if you're thinking you're going to be getting a firm chocolate chip and you get a gooey raisin, you'd be a little concerned, like, something's not right here.
Yeah, that's almost like imagining I'm sure it's probably can be done, but like a grape, like throwing a grape in a cookie, like that's to me that's kind of what a raisin is. It's just a small little grape.
Well, that's what it is.
I know I look at things wrong, but I feel like it's in that family or category
Yeah,
of
that's what
like
grapes are, is just shriveled up raisins. I mean, the other way around.
grape. Yeah. Um, Pearson, man, he's just lapping people multiple times.
He's trying to, having a bit of a time getting by Line. Line's not letting him just go.
Well, that
Not
would put him
causing.
a second lap down. Bradford going a lap down, but he's pitting again, maybe to finally come back in and just top it off.
Yeah.
He was, like I said, oh, he's got some damage, I do believe.
He did
Is
have
that
that
him?
on the last stop. I noticed that, so that's not
Oh,
fresh.
okay. 10-4, 10-4. Don't want to get all freaked out for nothing. If it's not new, I don't, no sense in freaking out. But, yeah.
Let's see.
Jason putting on a clinic here. Man, oh
Ooh,
man, are
Bradford
we?
overshoots.
Don't wanna. I'll keep my mouth shut until anything. Skyler back in the pits here. So I don't know if these are scheduled or unscheduled stops. Oh, Tiller's in the
I think.
pits. So
Yeah, we're gonna have a
I
second
think it
round of
is scheduled.
greens. They're just kind of short pitting and rather than stretching it, and then it looks like they're all
Yes,
taking tires
indeed.
as well. So, see what Sixton does. He gonna grab some tires? He does. Tiller's gonna pit right in front of him. Well, a couple boxes, but Sixton's taking 4. And Tiller's gonna take 4 as well. So let's see what the leaders are gonna do here. It'd be interesting. Maybe those cars a little further back that are pitting now. Try and make some time up on these guys while these guys wear their tires out. I don't know, maybe.
Great questions. I would not have thought you would come back down and pit like 20 laps later, 25 laps later. I would not have thought of this.
Just doing a short pit.
Yeah, like I would not have thought of like I would have thought at least get to maybe 85 to 90, maybe short pit then. I don't know. This is very questionable calling in my opinion. I don't if I was going to be like a race, strategist or crew chief or engineer or whatever you would like to call those special people that figure out all the math. I mean, this is why Larry McReynolds is bald-headed now. If you thought he didn't have hair when he began his career, I mean, look at him now.
Got 5
Huntley
seconds over
maintaining a
Huntley.
good. I was about to mention that, man. Great minds think alike. So, I mean, at least he's maintaining a relatively somewhat shorter gap than, being 8 to 10 seconds back. I mean, he's probably conserving a bit of tire as best he can compared to Pearson, as he's 5 seconds ahead of him, right? So, but Pearson, he really has the speed this evening. It is great to see. Man, caution free as well up until this point. 78 laps in the books, working on 79. Like a couple of people up ahead, maybe it is Nathan Line and Skyler Sixton. They are dicing for that position, but you have to remember that Sixton just came out the pits. He has fresher tires than Nathan Line, so pretty easy to get that spot away. That'll be the first car 2 laps down, as John Tiller is the first car 1 lap down in 5th position. It's Pearson, Huntley, Moore, Judson, and Tiller rounding out the top 5. Sixth in line and Bradford, and then Campbell, Woodrum, Everlong in the pits. I don't know if he has forsaken us too, or if he's still not 100% sure. So 80 laps now working, so yeah, I always wondered what it would be like, or how, to have a cup race scheduled here at Gateway after watching races from this track for so many years. I did. Yes, Yoda impression. It was always, like I said earlier, I always thought this track produced great racing to watch. And I thought, what was it, last year or the year before that, the Cup cars came here for the first time. I want to say it was last year, right? And
I feel like there's a couple, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think it was a couple of years ago. It was, I thought it was a good race.
Hey, Will, another off-topic for you. It's still about racing, but I was watching the ARCA race last night, and I noticed the driver of the number 15, my number, his name is Chris Wright. Not just Chris, but Chris with a K. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Number 15 spelled the same way as me. That's like 1 in a million chances.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he has something to do. So there's an IMSA team, there's a sports car team called Wright Motorsports. They mainly race in GT3 competition, whether it be GT Challenge America, IMSA. They've raced with help from Proton competition in the WEC. Anyway, long story short, I think he has something to do with Wright Motorsports. I think. Don't hold me to it, but I think so. But yes, I know who you're talking about. He's basically, I don't want to call him a paid driver, but he has backing to help him up. You know what I mean? So that's why he has that ARCA ride at the moment. Like I said, I think he has something. I think he's Wright Motorsports. I think he's because they're mainly in the AM categories, and if I'm not mistaken, he's like the AM driver of the car when they're in that category. He's pretty decent. I'm not gonna say he's great or anything, but he's a pretty decently good driver. Yeah, exactly. He's pretty good.
But anyways, point was 1 in a million chance. What are the chances of that? Chris with a K in the 15.
Yeah, there's not too many Chris's with a K.
No.
It's normally with the C. Yes.
And then you put him in a 15 car too.
My nickname, my grandfather coined me Willie, whenever I was younger, but the way that my family spells Willie is I-E, not I-Y or L-Y, right? Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory spelling.
W-I-L-L-I-E.
Yeah, that's how
Willie Nelson.
That's how I prefer it. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I prefer it to be spelled that way. And so whenever someone will send me a message, be like, "Hey, Willie," and I'm like, "Oh man, you spelled it wrong here. Let me help you out there, my friend." So I'm not really saying it's a pet peeve, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
At some point, you eventually just give up on mispronouncing or misspelling. People never pronounce my name right, and I understand why. It looks weird, but it's just they pronounce it wrong. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Whatever, don't care. Well, why didn't you correct me?
Heck,
I've corrected a million people, and I'm kind of tired of it. I don't care anymore. Unless it's something important, like someone calling a race or something like that, then that matters. Go on.
Chris Camary. it can be very easy to say Chris Canary, like I just tried to do earlier. Like it can, like if you know, it can be easy, or like if you're not familiar with the pronunciation, I guess, you know, like I always try to. I know I'm gonna. I really. I'm a terrible person sometimes whenever it comes to like, okay, well, tell me how you pronounce your name. And you know, they'll tell me how they pronounce their name, and I'll pronounce it correctly a couple of times, right? But after a couple of times, I'll keep butchering it, or like I can't help it. But I got a friend of mine that I work with on Sunday nights, and he uses the motto. He's like, "Hey, I don't get paid to pronounce the names correctly. I get paid to show you the cars on the track and bring you the action." You know, like that. I'm like, that's a good way to look at things.
Pearson in the pits.
Yes, Pearson in the pits. 21 laps to go. Like I said, you know, he went probably as far as he wanted to go, or like probably the distance that uh, you know, we talked about it earlier. We had others that short pitted way ago, earlier, a few moments ago, momentarily ago. I'll keep back talking after a while. That's my slogan tonight. Like I've said before, Chris, it seems like
Hey,
every other night
there you go,
I
Will. Did you see that?
yes.
2 tires.
Oh yes, good point.
So there we go. So I want to keep a camera on. We can see who's going to do what with some strategies. We'll have to make sure we keep an eye on Brian when he comes in, and Brandon and John. Those front lead lap guys. Actually, that's just the top three. Top
Well,
three is
actually, John's already pitted. Remember?
yes, that's true. Yeah, so I think John took 4 tires, didn't he? So you know what? That's
Yes.
exactly what we're talking about. I was talking about that earlier. He's gotten ahead of him, even though Pearson only took 2 tires, but he had so many laps where Tiller had fresh, brand new tires compared to Pearson's old ones, and because of that, he's lost that gap now.
Power of new tires gives him a 3-second advantage over Pearson at the moment with Pearson's right side freshies. What is Brian Huntley's maneuver going to be with Brandon Moore? 4.25 seconds, just 4 seconds back from Brian. These two are what we suspect to be the remaining 2 left to pit. Looks like Tiller is opening that lead up now to 4 seconds, about 3.25. But it's like, you know, Brian and Brandon, they have to pit. So when they pit, Tiller and Pearson become the leaders of the race. So Brian really hoping for a caution. Hoping to be a caution, you know, to not be a caution, because that would give him, you know, even though he would have to pit, everybody might come down to pit, take four fresh tires and top off the car, maybe just add a little bit more fuel, maybe for green, white checkeredness and, you know, compensation. So
Yeah, at this point, if there was a caution, there would be no reason to not come down and take 4 tires. I mean, you got 8 cars running. I think Sixton, Woodrum, and
yes,
Selner have all hung it up for the evening. Sixton and Woodrum been on pit lane
unfortunate
for a
for
little bit. Yeah.
Skyler, he was having a top 5 run at one point.
I think the only chance that Tiller and Pearson have is if Huntley and Moore pit. That's about it. They're so far back. very curious to see, Will, what Brian is going to do here. Is he going to have enough fuel?
Bradford trying to get one of his 2 laps back.
He is really putting a fight on Brian, not making that win easy for him, or potential win, I should say.
Another question is, does Brandon Moore have enough fuel? He's got about a 20-second gap back to Tiller, to where he could, keep saving fuel if he needs to where, does Brandon truly have to pit here is the next question. I think Huntley needs to. He's going to be having to come in, like I said, with maybe 6 laps to go. Eight to, the Brandon and Huntley can push their cars, I believe, to just past 10, 10 to go, 9, 8, maybe 7 to go. But after that, their fuel tank should be empty.
I think you're right with Brian having a pit, but I think Brandon Moore, I think he might be able to make it. I mean, he straight split it right in half, 55.
Do you think he runs out of fuel doing his burnout, or like before he gets to the checkered, or?
I think he runs out of fuel as he's grabbing the checker as the winner. If he wins, he's running out across the line. Could be running on fumes to get the rest of the way there. Nathan Line hitting pit road.
Huntley pitting now.
Oh. There goes Moore.
Oh, what would have been the pit lane delta here at Gateway? I'm not 100% sure for a NASCAR stock car to come down and maybe pit. Now, what we were talking about earlier, gambling. What do you do as far as just getting a splash to go, right? So maybe Brian still could maybe eyeing a podium. It all depends on where the other drivers are. We're going to see what he does here. Coming to a stop. Okay, so he's lost. Okay, so he's going to lose the podium positions. But okay, so right sides are going on the car.
Ooh, he's taking all 4.
Yes, he is. So we can now cut away from Brian. Brian knows what he's doing. It is going to hurt Brian. He may lose a lap here. He does.
Brandon Moore, if he can get in that, keep it in the fuel window. He's got a great lead over Tiller. You know what? Even if he was sputtering towards the line, he would still get it. 18 seconds back is Tiller. He's got a great lead over
Tiller. Yep, 18. I was going to say, it all depends on if Tiller, do you think Tiller's already driven the good off his tires, good possibility?
I'm sure he's been working
because
that
that's
car.
Basically a half a track gap that Brandon Moore has over Tiller.
Yeah, let's see, off the back of Brandon Moore here. Still hasn't come out of, yeah, I think John Tiller still hadn't come out of turn 2. No. Tiller coming off a 2 right now, and Brandon Moore is coming across the line, so he's closer to lapping them than he is to getting passed by them.
Yes.
Brandon just probably backing that thing down a little bit. Maybe he's been having it back down. I think he got the plan. 7 laps to go. Now, is Pearson going to be able to take second from Tiller? This should be the battle here.
Yeah, Pearson's caught up to Tiller. I think Tiller has driven the good off those 4 tires he took. I believe Tiller took 4 on his pit stop. I want to say 4.
Yeah. Pearson only took 2, but he's just a rocket here tonight.
Oh yeah, he's got this track dialed down. It's just almost unfortunate that Brandon has, I don't want to say stolen the win away, but been able to capture this win away from Pearson with the fuel mileage. Like we said, right before they started pitting on the first pit stop, I thought it would come down to strategy, trying to save as much as you can. And it looks like it has turned that way for sure. With Brandon Moore, we know. Look at his lap times on the dash. Look at how like look at that, a 34:30. Like, wow, you can. When does he start to back off here? Like,
Right.
how long does he let it roll? Like, what all is he doing here?
He is
Just kind of
losing
soaking it
time.
in, take it.
Right, so
Yes,
Tiller is catching up, but not a lot. Enough we can tell that he is backing it down, but he's
I think he
almost made up a
did.
second.
He could have. I think he could have done all that saving when he came out of the pits as well. He could, as far as what he needed, and then as far as trying to maintain a reasonable gap back to, to where he knows nobody's going to run him down, right? So, but he's still running those 34:40s. So, uh, doing whatever he still needs to do to maintain the gap and still have enough fuel to make it. What would this be, about 5 more miles in total, I do believe. So this
Yeah,
track is 1.33 miles, so 3 laps to go. That's 5 miles, I want to say.
Pearson's still not able to make the pass on Tiller for second.
And you know how difficult it can be pass. It can be to pass here, Chris. My goodness, Willie. Excruciating. I mean, you truly have to wait for your competitor to mess up in front of you at times. Like I said earlier, it can turn into a single groove track, especially when the competitor in front of you is in the same lane as you. Brandon Moore going to take the white flag, I do believe, or is that?
There it is.
Yes, it is. White flag for Brandon Moore.
Well, we can call this one, Will. Green flag to checkered. No caution. Because that white flag is
No
going to be the
caution
end of
indeed.
it. Wow.
Brandon Moore coming down the back straightaway for the final time into 3 and 4. It looks like it's going to be at least a 14-second gap back to second place, man. Running John Tiller at the moment. After he takes the checkered, we will cut back to this battle that could be still in play as Brandon Moore gets the checkered flag from Barney the Flag Man. Brian will take home 5th place respectfully as Pearson and Tiller getting through the final set of corners, coming on to the checkered. And Pearson just can't quite get there. He's going to have to settle for 3rd. Going to have to probably say the dominant car of the evening, but Brandon Moore's strategy is going to take home the winning trophy here this evening.
Heck yeah, that's awesome to see a strategy play out like that.
Oh, yes. Especially
Listen,
when the race can play out like that to be able to help you and able to be in. Yes, Chris, yes. I'll just stop. Yes. So 13.5 seconds was the final gap, but Brandon Moore takes home the win. Disappointing for Jason Pearson, I'd have to say. He had such a great run all night. I'd say he would need, I don't know what he needed besides Brandon Moore to make a mistake, and just like you said, couldn't get by John, but hopefully he will be still happy with the 3rd place run. I mean, he led the most laps. He got the 3rd place here. I know it's going to sting a little bit not to win after being so dominant, but John Tiller, I didn't think he was going to finish second here this evening after kind of having an up and down, back and forth go with Skyler. But man, they really brave-hearted it out, and good to see. Great race, like you said, from start to finish. Green to checkered, no cautions whatsoever here tonight. As Chris is wrangling up those podium finishers.
yes, they are not here yet. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have them for you. All right, welcome back to Gateway. We've got our top 2 finishers. Hopefully, we'll be joined by Jason Pearson while we're interviewing the top 2. So let's kick it off with John Tiller. John Tiller putting it in second place tonight. John, you had a great run keeping that thing up there and making some pit strategy calls. Tell us how the night went for you.
Man, it was an interesting night. We started out, I went with the same strat Brandon does. You know, me and he's been working with fueled up here lately, and we went with the same strat, just right around in 5th gear, try to save as much fuel as you could, and somehow he was able to save about 3 more laps than me. So I just decided that I was going to flip strat in the middle of it there. Started running as hard as I could before the pit stop, and then I just made the decision after that first pit stop, man. I figured I'm going to short pit these guys a little bit and see how it works out. And, man, it gave me a bunch of time on Brian and Jason there.
Will, what do you got for him?
Yeah, just an intriguing race, like you said, overall. Like the strategy played out, you really threw me for a loop whenever you and a couple of others kind of really short pitted way early than I expected. It was only like I felt like 20 or 25 laps later, and you guys could have maybe I figured you were going to wait maybe 10 to 15 laps if you were going to short pit, but you didn't. So man, I was kind of flustered. I was like, I would have. I was like, could not compute. But next week is Richmond. What's the ball game type of strategy going into Richmond there, John?
The ball game going into Richmond is keep the rear tires underneath me coming off of 4, man. That's the only thing I worry about at Richmond. Me and that place have a long history of wrecks and carnage, so I'm really hoping to figure that place out this week.
So, final thoughts, shout-outs, anything else you'd like to add? Caution-free race, by the way. We didn't see any of those terrible towels.
Yeah, man, that's kind of what I expected with such a small field. I figured we would get spread out and go green pretty quick. As far as shout-outs, man, of course, I got to shout out all my teammates over there at Fueled Up Motorsports. Nate and, of course, Brandon's been working with us, man. We've really come a long way this season. It's been a lot of fun. And huge congratulations to Brandon on that win, of course. Then I got to shout out all those sponsors: Admin Box, Clark Heaton and Air, New HD Radio, Swift Home Buyers. Man, without those guys helping us afford this sim, we wouldn't be able to do this every week. So they're the ones behind the scenes, and of course, appreciate you guys up here in the broadcast booth. Without y'all, we wouldn't have a show to go back and watch every week.
All right.
John, appreciate all that, and catch you next week, brother. Go celebrate this P2 finish.
I appreciate you, fellas. Have a good night.
All right, let's bring in our winner, Brandon Moore, putting that thing on the podium, up in first place tonight, heavily relying on a strategy call on pits that worked out awesome for you. It was awesome to watch that one happen. Tell us about it, Brandon.
Just it didn't really have that plan until we kind of gridded up, and I kind of seen what kind of fuel we had, and seen how many laps we had, and I figured, if I can save 5 on the first run and 5 on the second run, we probably have us a strategy to ourselves, and if it went green, it would turn into a win, and that's how it worked out. So figured we'd play a little strategy call, and glad that we did.
So strategy paying off tonight. Did you run out of fuel right across the line?
I ran out after my one single burnout that I did, that one little donut, and it was out.
We were kind of figuring you split it right down the middle, 55 on a 110 lap race, and we're figuring you're probably going to be on fumes coming across the line, but you had such a big gap over John.
Yeah, we pretty much drove the entire race in 5th gear. There was no shifting going on in the 88 car, and then coming towards the pit cycle, I even had to do a little bit of clutch work to save even a little bit more to make it to that magic number, but worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. Will, you got anything for him?
Richmond's next week, Brandon, and congratulations as well on this evening's win here at Gateway. But Richmond's next week. What's the thought, the mindset, the preparation going into Richmond?
Richmond will be a lot different of a strategy for sure than what we ran tonight. Very unique track, very fun track. The main thing is, of course, is making sure that you're getting the car turned towards the bottom early, keeping the rotation through the middle of the corner and getting a good drive off. Really easy to overdrive the corners at Richmond and getting tight towards the exit and having to lift, and that's what you're going to have to try to avoid. So goal would be, of course, to qualify up front and stay up front, and hopefully end up with a similar result.
Well, Brandon, thanks for talking to us tonight. Got any final thoughts or shout-outs you'd like to add before we let you go celebrate?
I just want to thank the broadcast booth as always. Thank all the competitors who came out to put on a show for the folks watching the stream tonight. And looking forward to next week, and hopefully we'll be having similar conversations.
All right, well, congratulations on that big win on the pit strategy play, Brandon. So go on and celebrate that one and enjoy it.
All right, appreciate y'all. You have a good night.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Gateway. Final thoughts, I when I saw Gateway on the schedule, I figured this was going to be a caution fest. But like he had said, with the lower car count, we're able to keep it green, split out, and just have a decent little race here tonight.
Yeah, it was really, from the sounds of everything, from the drivers in practice, I thought, oh my goodness, it sounds like it's going to be a doozy of a race. But it turned out a caution-free race. Kind of like you, whenever you look at the schedule and you're like, man, what could be here? What's going to happen there? And you just don't. You expect a couple of mistakes or slip-ups, at certain places, but just didn't see that here this evening. I mean, you saw some slip-ups or mistakes, but caution didn't come out for the Selner incident, which was just unfortunate. But anywho, yeah, Richmond next week. That's sure to be a interesting and maybe a barn burner of a race, just depending on how it plays out. Never can tell, Chris.
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward to it. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. So, Will, it's been great as always, and we'll catch you next Saturday.
Yes, sir.
That's going to do it for us here at 15 Studios. If you've enjoyed the racing action, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that action. And we will see you at the next track.